This episode of Super Pulp Science is brought to you by the Chasing Artwork booth at the Toronto Fan Expo this August 22nd to 25th. Come on down and pick up Cassie and Tonk, Rust and Water, Red and See-Through, and the new Chasing Artwork art book.
Attention, citizens. It's time for Super Pulp Science.
This is Super Pulp Science, where we talk about how a genre gets made. We're here with Newsroom Dan and my long-suffering co-host,
That's not my
Justin.
nickname.
No?
My nickname at the newsroom is now Ducky.
No, well, you said you didn't like that.
Well, I don't, but Hal Anderson calls me that, and so I let Hal Anderson call because he's the 34th greatest Canadian of all time.
Right.
So I let him call me that.
We're here with the 37th greatest
No,
Canadian of all
not
time.
even close.
Justin Curry. Not even close, you say?
He's like number 2.
Number 2.
Hey.
Oh, that's pretty
You thought I was going to go in a different direction?
I did think, we were setting you up for a knockdown, but no. Justin is fervently, that's the word I'm trying to pronounce badly, going through a list book. Tell us about your list book, Justin.
So I carry around a sketchbook, and it's kind of half sketches and half lists.
What kind of things do you put on your lists?
So the first couple
He said
pages...
listlessly.
Lists. I have a shopping page, a life stuff page, the paintings forged page, which is the really exciting one with all the thumbnails of new pieces, and then project/endeavors, and then
How often do you add stuff to these lists?
I think I'm constantly consolidating and updating, and so I'll make a list, I'll do some sketches, I'll cross half the things off the list, and then I'll kind of need to start a new page, and I'll take things from that old list and reword them or rework them so I can maybe double them up with something else.
To the beginning of your
up.
new book. I do that too now, and I'm trying to figure out if because I've been doing that for a long time, but I started to codify it, I think, when I started working here. It must have been you I stole it from, like to comb through the old sketchbook and then pull forward.
Yes.
Not just the ideas. I used to just pull forward like sketches. Like if I had 4 or 5 characters I was trying to refine, I'd bring them forward into my new sketchbook and continue that iteration.
Yeah.
But now I realized a real strength in pulling the list, also like the basic information, go through the old sketchbook, check off everything that was done, right, or not done, and then bring the not dones forward into the new book.
It's once you're getting to the end of that old sketchbook, it's so tempting to jump over to the new one, and you feel like you're
abandoning an old life.
Yeah, so harvesting everything out of it into the new one is my first step.
Yes.
Typically, how long does it take you to fill up one of these?
Not too long. When did this one start? I also, when I travel, I collect sketchbooks. I don't that's every time I go to a new city or new whatever, I get sketchbooks and art supplies. So I have 2 shelves full of blank sketchbooks, and on the front page I write where I got it from.
Yeah, and for the mind's eye of the dear listener, they're more like journal size. They're easier
Some
to
are
carry.
bigger,
quite big.
This one's bigger. I went off type just because I really, I don't know why, I just like the binding on this big one. But I usually get smaller ones so that between 2 and 4 weeks, I'm onto a new one.
Okay.
And it keeps that fresh thing
And is there
going.
anything special about the book? You just like the look of it and you buy it, the kind of thing? Is that the idea?
I like them to be blank.
So no line
Yeah,
paper,
no lines.
just yeah.
But that's just for me. I mean, some people.
But the covers, like I see Justin's cover has flamingos on the outside.
It's pink flamingos.
It's very transcona
Mine's
of you.
just red, just cherry red, and hardcover right now. And I'm actually looking forward to being almost finished. This
How
one
long?
because-
I think I've had this one since March. It's a smaller book. It's like a 6x8.
And you write microscopically.
I
in
write
it,
tiny.
right?
The reason I ask is because my daughter has one of these going right now. So she's starting to really get into the idea of, she takes it everywhere she goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So right now she's in a day camp, martial arts day camp, and she brought her sketchbook because she's going to spend some time sketching, and that's kind of just her.
So it seems funny to talk about it like this, but I like a smaller, thinner one better because I have trouble breaking up with it right away.
So you don't.
So I need it to be small enough that I can carry 2 for a while.
Okay. I thought you just wanted to have a fling. That's your...
No, so like while the one, it's almost like the one is training the other one while it's in my bag. It's like, here's the things that you're needed to do. You know, he's going to do this kind of stuff. And, you know, like, that's just how it is.
That's a future comic right there. Your sketchbooks talking to each other.
Right, this is how it is. Right, he's going to spill coffee at some point. It's not you. It's not personal.
What are your relationships, both of you, with day planners?
Oh, I hate them.
I hate day planners.
Yeah,
I've tried.
Never good at that.
There's some cool ones out there, and I love the idea of them, and I always get one with the intention of it
being so organized.
Yeah, and it lasts about a week,
now,
and then...
there is a leap forward we've both started using. There's a weekly stick-in planner. So it's like a...
really long Post-it.
Yeah, it's like a big, wide Post-it note that has the whole week on it, and you can stick it in your sketchbook. So when I have a really busy week, I peel out one of those, I stick it in my sketchbook, so that all of those necessary meetings, to-dos, responsibilities, and or accomplishments all go in that one place. And then I don't have to carry an extra book around. I don't have to put it in I find digital calendars suck all the life out of... all the whimsy and all the possibility of my week is gone as soon as I have to put it into a digital calendar.
Yeah, I don't usually bother with that either. But I desperately need something like that to help me remember things because I do quite often forget.
Yeah.
My lists are always like just on a scrap of paper as I get to work. I sit down, okay, what do I have to do today? And I write down everything that comes to my mind that I have to do that day.
Do you do so lately? And by lately, I mean like the last 5 years. My practice has been I make that list. And then I pick the thing I least want to do.
Oh, that's a good idea. I don't do that.
And I do it first.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I should definitely do that.
Now, there's a danger. There's a danger in it, Dan. Because if the thing you least want to do, you do first, and it's really horrible, it can affect the mood for your whole day, right? Like, it can be like, oh, I started with this shit, and now my day is
well,
like
oftentimes the thing I least want to do is answer emails, which is a big part of my job, and that can suck you in because you can just get going on emails and then forget about stuff, and that can take way longer than you anticipate. Yeah. So that's been an issue for me in the past.
Yeah. Oh man, that's tough.
Have you guys ever done a bullet journal, or is that what that is?
Well, I make my own little bullets or whatever, and then I go through and I highlight them. I found out like I used to check them off, I used to cross them out, but I like the highlighting because I can look back on a page and see that everything's been kind of crossed off except for
a few things,
a couple things.
And I just draw a little box.
Yeah.
Right, and then I scratch it in. When
I love that image. So you got like a little sketch of a person there that has nothing to do with the sketch.
That's right. Yeah.
It's just because that looks similar to what I'm looking. I'm just Googled the idea of Google bullet journal, and you see. And I remember this because one of my students once made a tutorial video for an assignment in one of my classes to tell you how to do a bullet journal. And they basically buy a very similar blank book like that, but then they very nicely sketch and design it so that it has these headers, really like all hand drawn headers. You're spending as much time designing the book as you are putting stuff into it, and people really enjoy doing this.
Well, here's what it forces. So why I like the sketchbook. So I was really down on digital planners there. If you're a really busy person and a digital planner helps you, by all means, right? I'm not casting shade on that. For me, adding the doodles, adding some decoration, adding some stuff into it is a moment where you force introspection. You have a moment where you slow down, and your brain and your hands are doing a secondary task. And then that other part of your brain can kick in and think about things, right? Mm-hmm. I'm reading a really cool book right now called The Dragons of Eden, which is all about the development of human intelligence and how like the brain evolves. And there's a really interesting part, which I found myself really thinking about the last few days, about how our short-term and long-term memories are not stored in the same place, which is why you can, like a waitress can hear a whole bunch of stuff, or a waiter.
Server is the proper term.
Server, thank you. I was struggling for the gender neutral. The server, but I don't like the idea that they're a servant.
Well, I don't either, but what else do you call them?
Yeah.
Anyway,
okay, so the person at the restaurant who takes your order can keep all of that stuff in their head, but they don't remember. It doesn't clutter up.
Well, as soon as they place the order, it's gone, right? They can.
The short-term memory is not stored in the same place as the long-term memory, and one of the real ways of talking about it or describing it to somebody else is to say, when you have a dream, you wake up and you have this vivid idea of the dream, and then you go back to sleep and you've forgotten it. But if you wake up and you wake up the person beside you and you say, I had this dream, right? The part of your brain that remembers sounds is a different part of your brain than the part that remembers thoughts. And so when you say it out loud, it's easier to remember it. But it's not a trick. It's literally because it's a different part of the organ activates when the noise is present.
Interesting.
Right? And so the same is true when you're writing things down. There's a different part of your brain that is organizing and deciding the visual space of it. So sometimes when I'm thinking about my list, I remember this guy here that I drew, right?
Yeah.
And this reminds me of the list. This is the mnemonic device. This
Okay.
picture of this guy reminds me of these 5 things that I have on the list.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I've been working on a Harry Potter piece lately, and then the
Say
other
that
day
again real fast.
I've been working on a Harry Potter piece lately.
That's not very fast. Say it fast.
Why I don't
I
want to
don't know.
say
I
it fast.
feel like there's a danger in that alliteration that I want you to stumble on.
And part of the pieces that part of the elements that I want to work into were like the Horcruxes, where you put a piece of your soul into an artifact. So if you were to ever be killed, a piece of your soul is left over, and you can keep going.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler. Well, it's
Dude, it's like so
Yeah.
done now.
Books
Anyway,
live forever, man.
So
Well, the movies,
while this
anyway.
was in my mind, I also had like a momentary like, oh God, where's my sketchbook moment? And this one in particular,
Oh,
I've got so many good important lists and good project ideas and future endeavors sketched out that were, if this were to disappear, like it'd be like a chunk of my soul.
So that's your Horcrux.
That's your Horcrux right
for
there.
now, yeah. And
Yeah.
I
Oh,
was,
wow.
Till you reinvest it somewhere
if
else.
that sketchbook were to go missing tonight,
Yeah, it would hurt.
yeah.
Yeah, it would hurt.
Like,
Now, here's an interesting thing about it is that I've started moving some of this sketchbook core ideas into the new one as I approach the end of it. And I would have the last sketchbook. So I have like a parenthetical, like the shape, like the evidence of its absence would be present in that. But yeah, it would hurt a lot. So that's the bonus, I guess, for a digital thing, is that if it's in the cloud, it's harder to
but
lose.
sometimes you lose that stuff too.
Oh, yeah, that's so true. Yeah. All life is fleeting. That is our... We finally got back to that theme in the podcast.
And I do, it's weird when you have to redo. So when I was working on the older version of Adobe Illustrator CS6, it doesn't have any kind of recovery functions.
Right.
Like CS6, Photoshop, and InDesign have great recovery software, so you almost never lose anything. But for whatever reason, Illustrator didn't get that same attention. So if you file deletes and you hadn't saved, it's gone.
Yeah, you can go in, for the dear listener, if you're having a panic, you're like, wait, you can't recover things. You can go into the file tree of Photoshop after it's crashed and go and look for the recovered files folder, and there'll be some stuff
It might be a few
floating in there.
versions
Yeah, a
old
few
or
versions.
something.
Might be a few versions old, but there's some of your work remains, but not for long.
But back it
So-
up. Just
Yeah.
please back it up. That's the one. We tell all students that all the time. Back up everything.
Yeah.
But I want to know if you guys experience this too. When I've had to redo like a painting or an idea, the second time around, it's always in my mind like, this isn't as good as the first time I did it. You think that like whatever that magical gone version that's disappeared was better than what you're doing now. But I've seen it before where I redid the painting and I had that feeling that it wasn't good enough, and then I was able to find the original again. It wasn't deleted. I was able to track it down. It was saved under a weird name or something like that. And it turns out the second version was better. When I redid it was better.
interesting.
But my mind kept telling me that version that you lost was better.
So this is the argument that every substantive editor ever has always wanted to be committed somewhere. You've done it. You've framed it just right. Because the author, when they're presented with the idea that they should change their work, right? And I just went through this with Good Boys, right? There's that immediate resistance that no, the initial idea, the initial spark of the muse is pure and we must not tamper with it. Get away from this. But I was wrong.
First idea, worst idea.
Yeah, often.
That's what we that's our mantra in Creecon, because, and it's not only, I mean, occasionally the first idea is actually the best idea, and that's fine. But the point of that statement is to force people outside their comfort zone, to force them to think about something else. Sure, great, you came up with a good idea, set it aside and do another one. Do something else, because you never know. You never know when that inspiration is going to strike again and strike in a better way.
Yeah.
Right.
When we teach writing workshops, we often present the idea that everybody's come here with a great idea. Well, your idea is worthless, and I'll prove it to you. We're going to set a timer for 5 minutes, and you're going to write down 100 story ideas. right? You're going to get as far as you can in 5 or 10 minutes. Somebody wants something, complication ensues. Just write it out. Don't worry about if it makes any sense. Sometimes we randomize. We just make a list of 100 protagonists and 100 situations, and just mix and match. And in a 10-minute span of doing 100 ideas, the one you thought was good is obliterated by this sudden, whimsical juxtaposition of a new idea presented to you that you never would have thought of because you were giving it too much weight, making it too important. And that the idea has no value. Only the action related to the idea has value. If you like that enough to do something with it, now it's valuable.
John Cleese had a great line about that as well. Him and another writer on Monty Python, they were both really good writers, and their first ideas would be very comparable. They'd be both really good ideas, but how John Cleese, he would actually go back and do new, other ideas and rewrite and retool, whereas the other guy just always stuck with that first strong idea.
Yeah, I got it.
I think that would have been Graham Chapman. Yeah. Graham Chapman was his writing partner for a lot of that, yeah.
But Cleese would go by, and he wasn't, he wasn't married to that first idea. He was able to evolve it and come up with others, and not every idea is precious.
Right.
That
he was kissing a lot of frogs, as the saying goes.
I've never heard that saying.
You've never heard? You got to kiss a lot of frogs before you find a prince?
I thought it was just the one frog.
No, that's exactly it, right? No.
In the story, though, it's just the one frog, isn't it?
Well, that's where we come into the story. But one can imagine that princess has played that game before at many ponds.
Possibly.
Right?
Or there's a lot of frogs out there scamming the princesses, making them think.
Also true. Hey, princess.
That book, Stinky Cheese Man and Other Horrible Fairy Tales. Do you remember that book?
No.
Ran rampant in middle school.
Oh.
No, I don't remember that.
No, the only iteration of Princess and the Frog I clearly remember is the Robin Williams version that was on Fairy Tale Theater, which is a PBS show that ran when we were kids. And they had all kinds of crazy celebrities in it.
Yeah.
And Shelley Duvall, I believe, was in that one. Yeah. And then they would just do these kind of one-off fairy tale depictions. And yeah, Robin Williams was the Frog Prince. That was in early to mid-'80s.
$10,000 for me by myself. For that you get the head, the tail, the whole damn thing.
It seems our episode is about managing large amounts of information and ideas.
That's good. That's a good assessment.
So if that's in fact true, what are the ideas that you've lost? Do you have any I know I had this great idea, but I lost that sketchbook. Oh, I had this great start, but I lost that.
It's not that I lost it. I think I lost the momentum for that project or that idea. I should have set aside other things and done it then, because I don't know if I'm ever going to go back and do that. So there's some ideas for some pieces and projects that I just let go cold.
Does it hurt to think about them? Do you feel like you've let them down,
there's
a part of yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you?
I once thought that I should invent a larger container for concentrated orange juice. Because I was always so frustrated when I buy. I mean, this is not an unusual problem. You buy a thing of orange juice and you make your orange juice, and it's always not enough to fill the jug. It's not enough to fill a 2-liter jug of orange juice.
Right.
Have you ever had this problem?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's
so years ago, I'm like, why don't they just give us
three quarters?
Yeah. Why don't they just give us more? Why don't they just make a bigger thing of concentrated orange juice?
Because you're left with the decision of, do I add more water?
And you make it watered down.
Yeah, or do I add another one that's too strong?
Yeah, so this is a long time ago. And I'm like, and then years later, they did it. They actually did make a bigger version. So I don't know that...
Okay, the beginning of the story, not the end, but the beginning of this story, there's a great analogy that can be made for writing or working on creative stuff. That sometimes you feel your idea is not big enough to fill the whole container, and you're left with that, do I add another big thing? And does it get too strong? So this happens to me a lot. I'll come up with I'm working on a project right now, a comics project called Arena City. And it's kind of like a dystopia, it's kind of a cyberpunk, it's kind of all of these other things. And so there's lots of room in that mental space to pull in too much, right? Mm-hmm. What do I really think about cyberization? What do I really think about prosthetics, right? And the role it plays in humanity. What do I think about genetic manipulation? Those ideas are all big ideas, but they have nothing to do with the story. And so it would be like adding a whole nother plump of orange juice.
Right.
And now it's too strong, and people don't. It's too many flavors, and they
And I'm
don't
sure
know what
we
it
can
is.
think of actual examples in which that's taken place.
Del Toro's Hellboy 2, The Troll Market.
Should have been its own movie.
Yeah, it was really good, but we didn't need it.
He poured so much, like a good chunk of the movie's budget was going into it, and he wanted to do so much more, and he had to be like reined in.
Yeah.
And it's like 5 minutes of the movie.
Amazingly, though, I think the idea from Troll Market in Hellboy became Troll Hunters.
Oh, that's true.
Right.
Yeah. Which is good. A really good series.
You know, and I don't know for a fact that there's a 1-to-1 in there, but they're just made of the same
But
stuff.
isn't he on that? Isn't he a producer on
Oh
that?
yeah.
Okay,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
It's his thing.
Yeah.
So I think it was one of those ideas where it should have been mixed into its own jug. It should have been dropped into its own jug, right?
I really like this orange juice analogy.
Well, you brought it up.
Well, I thought it was a literal thing that I did. But yeah, I'm sure there are many more examples of that. So you kind of have to know when enough is enough, right? You have to kind of how do you do that? How do you figure it out?
Yeah, so are you worried that you're going to give some element of the story too much attention and
then divert it? Yeah.
Like dilute the actual real story.
That's right. So what I'm trying to do right now is ask myself, what is the core conceit of the story, and can I write it as a simple sentence? And every scene that I'm writing or illustrating, what part of this new scene adds to my understanding of that core idea? If instead it would force me to restate the core idea to encompass the new scene, I have to drop that scene no matter how cool it is, because it's getting me away.
But that scene can still live on somewhere else, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
it might be better the next time you take a look at it.
Also true, right? And so things that's what the sketchbook is for.
Yes,
so
exactly.
It fills up with your darlings, and you don't take them to every dance, right? It's kind of
full of analogies
right?
today.
Yeah.
Today it's a good day for analogy. There's something in this latte. I'm not sure what it is. But it's something that young me couldn't do. My first draft of the first novel that I ever wrote, I went back and found recently, and I was going through it and realizing that it is just every chapter is like, what if I made this a great horror book? Oh, what if this was a great sci-fi book? Oh, what if there were superhero themes in this book? Right? Like, I had not settled on what I was really writing. There was too much in me, and every chapter of the book could almost be the beginning of a new story. It was a number of characters, and so it was writing from a bunch of different points of view, right? Which is a trick to begin with. And I realized that I was writing a different story for each of them, and there was no way. The reason why it's not finished is because there was no way that it would ever encompass. But I found one of the chapters and one of the situations held up. And I told myself, if I cut everything else from this, the 2 or 3 chapters that contain this thread would be a pretty good short story.
This is making me think about books turned into movies and how they often don't hold up, and a lot of times they're a bit of a mess because you're trying to fit in so much of a world that is easily done in like a novel. Putting that into a 2-hour film and like producing a good movie is
right, because
a very tricky thing to do.
In a novel, in exposition, in prose, you can set up a very complicated worldview in a paragraph or 2. Mm-hmm. But to do that in a film, it becomes boring exposition if a character simply tells you that worldview. Mm-hmm. And so if you're trying to show it and use music and images and all of these things to build up that feeling, you're on your way somewhere. And then if you suddenly turn left, we were talking about this before the podcast, that Netflix show Night Flyers suffers from that, right? It just twists and turns for no reason too often.
Yeah.
Right?
One of the best, although the movie itself I have issues with, but one of the best opening credit scenes I think is Watchmen. Like the opening credits for The Watchmen tells the entire story of that world really well.
It's a mastercraft of the setting up the regular world as strange.
Yeah.
Right? Like they show you the time period and how that time period is affected by this new idea and how the world would be if that new idea was real, and they do it all in 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah,
For
it's
those
really
of you
well
who
done.
aren't familiar with the opening, it's kind of a montage of newspaper clippings and news reports of how superheroes became like part of the police force almost.
It's
and
like remixing famous news headlines.
I'll put 2
Right.
Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Times they are changing, which is
Yeah.
appropriate.
Yeah.
I'm going to see if it's on YouTube.
I am surprised, actually, that Bob Dylan song was used in a superhero movie.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, it's not really his jam, I would think.
No, but
to
they
do
probably
pop culture.
drove a dump truck full of money up to his house. Yeah, it's it's on there. Watchmen 2009. And that's 2009. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's forever
10
ago.
years old. That movie is,
Wow.
and the new series is coming soon.
I don't know.
Why don't we just leave it as a comic book, guys?
We know all about you, Chief. You don't go in the water at all, do you?
Some bad hat, Harry.
I was reading Mike Allred's Two Moors publishes these interviews with creators, and I picked up a whole bunch of them that were published around 2010 when I was in San Diego Comic-Con. So Mike Allred talking about the Madman movie being made, not Mad Men.
No,
but
Madman. Did they never made that?
Still being optioned by Rodriguez.
Okay.
And how them doing Sin City was a way of them testing the technology to do a Mad Men.
Oh wow. Okay.
Right? And how that option, I don't know if that option is still underway, but for 10 years, the option for his film and his relationship with Rodriguez developed because they were working on this movie for 10 years trying to get it right between other projects that Rodriguez was working on. So, would you want one of your projects, Justin, to go into a 10-year development?
They call that development hell.
Yeah.
In a lot of
well,
cases.
I think people on the outside call it hell, but people who are in it just call it development.
Well, because, I mean, I don't know. There's no set timeline for film development. It could take anything from a year to 10 years or more, right?
Well,
There
and
are
what you're
films-
waiting for is a perfect storm of market forces, interest, a comparable film that creates a fervor and a demand.
And all
for
the right
something,
people coming
and
together.
all the right people coming
Yeah.
together, and someone's schedule, and then egos, and then writing, and then money, and then all of those things. I mean, we're doing just a paper-thin slice of that with the Cassian Tonk development right now.
Yeah.
I can't imagine if there was a big studio with big money behind it, how much more complicated it would be. Because right now, if we don't want to do something, Justin just says, nope, we're not doing that part.
Not at this time.
Not at this time.
Not this time.
Right? And that's like so freeing and wonderful.
It is. So what would you do, though, if you guys get to that point? Would you want, I mean, as the creators, you can put in your contract, you want some creative control over it, right? You want to be able to, obviously you wouldn't be maybe you would be the director, but maybe probably not. You would turn that over to a different
Oh, you
director.
can't. I couldn't be the director.
So-
Are you kidding? We don't know.
Yeah.
Well, you
Yeah.
worked in film before.
Okay,
though.
we've
You
been-
know,
Okay, but that's like saying I went to a boxing match. I can totally take on Cassius Clay. No way. Right? Right?
We've been dancing around this. Okay, so somebody wants to option Good Boys
Right.
from you.
Yeah.
And they're going to give it to director
This is a
Michael.
hypothetical,
Yeah,
dear listener. Yeah.
hypothetical.
Yeah.
There's two ways it could go. Like, you stay involved, you put a lot of your time and money into it, and it's a very small production, and you retain creative control. Or another route, Michael Bay wants it, and he just is going to buy it right out from under you, and you never
And make lunch boxes
you're
and
not going to
toys.
see it again until it hits the theater.
but you would be quite
But-
well off. You'd be well compensated.
But wouldn't that also, would you say yes to that because that means you've done it with this, now you
do
have
it
a
with
much
this.
better chance of doing it again and being more involved, and then doing it again and being even more involved? Like, if you say no to a big company wanting your project, does that kind of burn a bridge?
It totally does. There's this belief that somehow every deal will be new and pure and perfect, but there are only so many people making those money decisions, and they, for a large part, know of each other or know each other directly. And so you can't
It's a small world.
You can't poop
It
where you
is,
eat,
yeah.
right? To answer your question, so if someone came to me and said, we want to make this into a film, will you sell us the option? I would make sure that option expires within 1 year.
Okay, that's a good call. That way they have a year to do it. If they don't, then you get it back.
Well, they have a year to begin production.
Okay.
Right, is
Yeah.
how that works. So what that would mean is in the contract, they have 12 months to act upon the property, right? To start doing sketches, to start doing designs, to give me an idea of what it would look like. And if they've started, then of course they're going to need another year. So they're going to pay for that next option. But leaving the option in place, once you start, you usually can't keep stretching the option. They'll want control now. So the option is for the luxury of beginning, right? If I option Media Nerds podcast because I'm going to do the film of your life story, Dan.
So boring.
Right. I'm going to pay you the option to start. Once I've started, there's a different payout.
Okay.
Right? There's a percentage of budget is owed
But
to
you
you
lose
according to
control.
the contract. You lose control.
Okay.
Yeah.
So really, it's about finding the person that you trust
Yeah.
to do it the right way. That's what you're trying to do here.
Well, in the story that I gleaned from Mike Allred's interview was that a big studio wanted Madman right after the Batman craze started with the first Tim Burton movies.
oh, geez. Okay.
Right? So that's how long in the tooth it is.
Yeah.
And they danced and danced and danced, and the director he kept naming as the person he wanted was Rodriguez. And when Rodriguez...
This is back when he was working on Desperado and,
That's
and
right.
that kind of stuff.
And so it was like this indie... The indie heart is what he wanted to be working on his film. And then when... I don't know the whole story, but how it all came together is they ended up meeting, really liking each other, and Rodriguez saying, no, we should do this ourselves. Let's do it outside of the studio system. We'll have a lot more control. Well, how many years since Tim Burton's Batman came out, we still haven't seen a Madman movie, right?
Yeah, interesting. I don't know. It's tough to say. And I mean, we see all these adaptations go out there, and some people like them, some people don't. I remember going to see Watchmen in the theater. I was very excited about it because that was one of the comics that really kind of got me going on comic books. And I tend to have a bit of denial when I come out of a movie sometimes. I get so excited about it. I'm like, that was awesome.
Yeah.
And my friend looks at me and goes, yeah, I don't know. And
Right.
he was, he had issues. And maybe one of the issues with that was that it was too close to the comic book. It was almost frame for frame in a lot of ways, the comic book.
Yeah, if you really want to divide a comic book room... You tell them, and I do this a lot, you tell them that you liked the Watchmen film adaptation, which I did.
I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I have not seen it in a while. I don't know if it holds up, but my main issue with it, and if I'm going to be honest, is the Zack Snyder style of fighting that he does, where it's a slow and then the fast, which worked really well in 300, but I didn't love it in Watchmen.
Right.
So that was really the main thing.
Yeah.
And maybe that Leonard Cohen scene
I have a
in the
strong
owl,
suspicion
in the owl
that
ship.
it's much safer for the actors, and it gives the
Oh,
ability
for sure. Yes.
to create
yeah.
real dynamic storytelling without needing a ton of... You don't have to spend a year...
Coordinating, learning that stuff. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But still, like again, but it seemed to be at the time his signature of his films was that style because it was right after 300. That was kind of his thing, and he just kind of kept that going into Watchmen. So
And then what was... the one with all of the people in the schoolgirl uniforms fighting robots and
Sucker Punch.
Sucker Punch.
I like that one as well.
Yeah.
Parts
of it I liked, but it
visually,
wasn't,
the story wasn't great, but the visuals were amazing. I like the soundtrack. I liked a lot of that movie, even though that was his. I think that was his like when he was into the Warner Brothers deal for Man of Steel and that was his like I want to do what I want film.
Right.
Like when he got that deal, the directors say, "Here's the one. I just want to make one that for me."
Yeah.
That was his. And then for Chris Nolan, it was Inception.
Yeah.
So it kind of shows you the difference there. So that was, I mean, it's very tough. I don't envy anybody who kind of tries to adapt anything really into a film or TV show.
And what all of this has in common with our original conversation is it started as a note in somebody's to-do list,
That's right.
right?
Was it was it Toy Story, Finding Nemo, and like 4 of like the cars were all figured out in one lunch meeting, and they're all on napkins, and that was
the Lion King. Did you say the Lion King?
no, I don't think of the Lion King. It was like all the Pixar, Disney.
all the Pixar
Yeah, but Lion King was also like that,
Yeah,
apparently. And again, it was like on a flight somewhere. Where a bunch
Actually,
of
there's
people
some
were
controversy there. There is a
know.
animated film from like the 70s, which is almost
Kimba
the White Lion.
Lion. Simba.
They swear it has nothing to do with it. I don't know that they would be that. I think if they really had ripped that off, they wouldn't have been so close.
Have you seen the shot for shot comparison?
Yeah,
No, I'm
there's
not,
some
no.
really compelling evidence.
I know that it deals with a dead father as well, but that's not uncommon.
And there's like
in
a
any film.
toucan, like sidekick.
Right there. Mary Ellen Moffat. She broke my heart.
Was it last episode or the episode before? 2 episodes ago, we talked about somebody taking your style or
Yes,
taking your
that was actually
version.
more than 2 episodes ago. That was a while ago.
It was a couple episodes ago.
Yeah, depends on the order you listen to these in.
That's right.
Yeah, but we got, we didn't get, but it popped up on one of the Artist Alley groups that we're part of, somebody dealing with exactly
Yeah, like
this.
within 12 hours of us talking about that on the podcast, Justin's like, hey, look, people are really mad about this exact thing.
So there was a gentleman in Montreal who has a fairly, it's not a distinct style, but a distinct process of doing things. He cuts up comic books and pastes them together in kind of collage. And
It's
then,
like a collage, yeah.
And then kind of paints over them with splatters and stuff. So it's like this messy comic book collage.
Cool.
He's based in Montreal, and he had this one guy who's bought some pieces and had lots of questions about the process. And then this last year, that gentleman showed up with a booth exactly the same, doing exactly the same thing. And so not only did like people who had been buying from the original guy for years thought that this was the same guy, the same art. And so the guy just kind of laid this all out. And it was funny. All the comments kind of went through the gamut of everything we talked about. Going like, get him kicked out, talk to the organizers, or like, you can't do anything. You just got to like double down and get better and burn down his booth.
So that seems extreme.
But this comes back to the idea that your idea itself is worthless and only the action creates the value. So like, while that person had an interesting idea to begin with, the execution of the idea was easy to replicate once it was out, right? Mm-hmm. Like a paperclip is an excellent idea, right? Now, everyone manufactures paperclips, right?
I have whale paper clips.
Right? That's what I mean, right? So if what you're doing is you're tearing up a bunch of old comics and then cutting out the character of a cover of that comic and then gluing it on top and then throwing some paint on it, well, compositionally you could have some variations, but the actual process to the untrained eye of the marketplace is producing the same work.
And if we were being really honest about it, like the old school comics ripped each other off all the time.
Constantly.
Like all those characters are the exact same thing, except on the like what's I think Shazam was the one that kind of went, what is this guy like? No, there was Captain Marvel and Shazam.
Yeah, watch it though. You got to check the publication history.
All right, so Shazam was
of
first.
Captain Marvel and Superman, and there's a fight to be had.
Okay.
Yeah,
that all came to the forefront when the film came out. When the Shazam film came out, they were talking about that and how many different versions of this character are out there.
Well, and the Fawcett, I believe that's who the publisher was of the original Captain Marvel, right? They eventually folded into DC. They weren't part of them to begin with.
Okay.
They were a competition.
I see.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What else?
But it was the singer, not the song. So it's a Superman analog with magic as its reason.
I think that's fun. I mean,
Right?
like I'm okay with that kind of stuff. And it's not like, I mean, Superman was such an iconic character that many people wanted to have their own take on that. And
and I made one for World War Weird. My Atlas character is basically like, what if Superman was the pure embodiment of white privilege, right? Like,
yeah, but that's a cool kind of take on it,
but
right?
it's just the same.
But some people would say Superman is the embodiment of white privilege.
I mean. So, like, what if he really
what he was overly...
He always thought he was right because no one could ever prove that he was wrong because no one can ever
Wasn't that kind
overcome
of,
him.
was it Brightburn?
Brightburn, yeah, I haven't seen that.
They don't try to hide that they're just doing Superman, but what if he decided he didn't want to follow anybody's rules?
Yeah.
I have not seen that, and I was wondering about that. That's not like a Warner Brothers thing or anything like that. It's just that people it's literally the same story as Superman.
Yeah, just
but different.
But with
they don't use the name or the logo or the actual situation.
And they're not getting sued by Warner?
They can't be sued, no. I had this long talk with the people when we were in San Diego with the people at the Antarctic Press booth because I went and there were some of the shot callers were there and I just said, okay, I need to ask you. These Steam Wars books that are designed to be exactly like Star Wars books and Steamship Enterprise, which was on there, right? Or Airship Enterprise or whatever. I was like, guys, how are you not in trouble for this? How have you not been sent cease and desist? And they said that it's different enough that it counts as parody and that you can't confuse it. They said the test that their lawyer, and I believe the way he phrased it was that our lawyer provided, meaning that I think they may have been called to question on it, but I don't know this for sure.
Or they just know this is
Yeah, they showed, you show a picture of the Starship Enterprise to somebody and you say, what is that? And you show a picture of your Steamship Enterprise and you say, what is that? And if they don't confuse the two, right? Then the one is not considered to be biting into the market share of the other, right?
Yeah, but that could also be just
or Airship Enterprise. I forget what it was.
the Steamship Enterprise is not as well known of an image, right? So
Right.
that's just like if they're not as popular.
Yeah, just look up Antarctic Press.
Oh, I
and
saw
you'll
it there.
see
Yeah, I mean that looks like it. That looks like the
Yeah.
Right? So,
just-
but
it's a-
they were going to die on that hill, and they said that part of their publishing history is taking risks like that. And I guess you're going to poke that bear. That's
Yeah.
fine.
It does seem like that.
But like, there's a difference between style and content, right? So the content is similar, but the style is very different, and so you could argue that it's not the same thing. If someone is doing did the subject matter of your entire lineup, Justin, right? Would they actually impact your regular customers who are coming for your style, not your substance?
I guess it depends how close to home they hit.
Yeah.
Like if they're just kind of grabbing onto the coattails a little bit, or if they're trying to copycat.
Right.
And some of the the cases that we've talked about on the show have been like direct copycats, not just, hey, I see what they're doing, I'm gonna kind of try to integrate that into what I'm doing and make it my own.
Okay, so let me
Yeah.
throw some shade on our own stuff.
Yeah.
Isn't Cassie and Tonk just us remaking Iron Giant, but in an apocalypse?
I think it's
Because this is what the audience says to us all the time. This reminds us so much of the Iron Giant. And we say, well, we love the Iron Giant. Well, so I have to,
Plus,
we
you have
to
a
be
big Iron Giant image on your banners. Don't
Yeah.
you have one?
yeah.
Yeah. So that's and
So you're
obviously
like hacking their mind.
It's obviously an influence, but I don't know that it's the same thing. I can't.
But
the robot is much smaller than the Iron Giant.
that is there. So if we can, the point I'm making here is that even at your own stuff, you can throw stones, and you have to know your motivation for making it. We know that our motivation for making Cassie and Tonk had nothing to do with copying or following the trend,
No.
right?
Yeah.
If we had sat down and said, what is the most popular comic book on the stands right now, we would not have said Iron Giant.
Not at that time.
Right?
Certainly not at that time.
Yeah. So,
And maybe not even now. I would
right.
say.
You
It's
can't
still-
do that. And if you do that, you've already missed the mark. Right?
Oh, you know what? No, I would say Iron Giant. Since I think the Ready Player One movie had it in it, so it's been a bit more in the
that-
public.
Been bursted a bit.
But-
Kills me when somebody comes up and is like, oh, it's the robot from Ready Player One.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of people you
but
punched in the mouth.
before that, it was pretty obscure. It's not that popular of a movie in the mainstream. So,
Yeah, it got a really bad release. I think
No, it did not do well, yeah.
But it was Brad Bird. It was why Brad Bird got to do The Incredibles
Yeah.
and all the
Anyone
other films.
who makes movies who saw that movie couldn't help but want to give him a job.
I remember seeing it when it came out on video. I was working at Blockbuster at the time and being blown away by it,
Yeah.
simply because the computer animation aspect of it was
And
really
Vin
cool.
Diesel was like one of
And
Vin
Vin Diesel
Diesel's
was-
first.
Yeah.
But no, I would say if I was to look at a photo of and you've got your own interpretation of the Iron Giant and Cassie and Tonk next to each other. There's no way you could confuse those two.
No.
The Iron Giant is not every robot, and by the way, it's this very specific retro style robot,
Yeah.
and Tonk is not that.
No. Well, and I mean, it's the thing that we always caution in our workshops too, is if you're going to rip, and we stole this straight from J.J. Abrams, if you're going to rip off Jaws, right, and you rip off the monster, you're ripping off the wrong thing, right?
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
You have to rip off the heart under the story to make you upset that people are being eaten by a shark.
I think that's it. I think we get annoyed when people don't go to the extra steps and see, okay, so what is it about Jaws that's terrifying? It's
Yeah.
that there's this unknown thing, monster in the water. You go in the water, you get eaten. Like you
Yeah.
kind of distill it down and you understand it.
Yeah, an unknown monster in a place that you usually find safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so when you can understand that and then apply, like Tremors would be probably a good example.
Right.
Like somebody who saw Jaws and understood it made Tremors. So
Yeah, because when you're standing on the ground,
When
you
you're
feel
standing-
safe.
you feel
but if
safe.
something could grab you, anytime you're standing on the
And
ground
suck
from
you
underneath
under,
you,
yeah.
that's scary.
So, but then somebody who made
Lake Placid.
shut up. Lake Placid is a fantastic film.
So, but come back to it. You have your core idea that starts in your book, right? And you make your list and you follow through on it, and now you're making something, and your idea has value because you're taking action. What happens is external forces now are at play on your idea. Someone whispers to you, right? If there was more monsters in it, it'll sell better. Someone whispers to you, oh, if there's a female protagonist as the lead, it might sell better. Someone whispers to you like, oh, if it's PG-13, it'll have a bigger market. And so now your idea is
like
under
marketing
assault
team?
from all of these external forces, which may or may not be true. And you can find all the examples where the outlier destroys that rule. And we tend, I think, in the genre community to hold up the outlier as if we don't have to follow any of these rules because, look, here's an example of when it didn't work.
And ignore all those outliers that died. And
That
burned.
died, yeah, there's the other side. And there's a median where, on average, that advice is true, but you're going to end up with an average story. And if what you want is an above-average story, what you might get is a below-average story, right? So you have to, there's a lot at play from the book that we've got with us to it existing somewhere else. And again, I'll come back to Good Boys. The first version I turned in versus the version I've been working on with the editor, the first version is so overburdened by what I'm trying to tell the audience the book is about. And most of the editorial advice from Highwater Press was, your images already say this, Gregory. You don't have to say this also. Take that out. And my initial reaction was like, people won't understand it if I don't tell them because this is new to me. It's new territory for me to be talking about. And their advice, again, good editorial advice, was no, the people who are going to read it will understand the context from the image, and they'll understand the context because they're talking about the world we're living in now. Stop preaching at them. Just take that out. Just take that out. Just take that out. And the newest version literally has 80% less text than the first version.
Cool.
It was scary. But it's a way better book. So first, what did you say? First idea, worst idea,
yeah.
My first idea with that book was the worst idea. But it's a success story in the studio as being I came up with the concept and pitched it within the same 10-day period and was accepted by a publisher. So the first idea was strong, but the expression of that idea that came soon after wasn't very strong. So I succeeded because I didn't have the other stuff to show them, right? I showed them examples of other work I had done and this idea, and they made the one-to-one. They're like, well, if he can do that, and this is where he's starting, it'll probably be pretty good. And then I turned in the first draft, and they're like, ooh, mistake.
Regret,
right? Buyer's remorse.
That's right.
So we had to work on it.
Cool.
And I think that's pretty normal step. Dragon Nanny, are we gonna have that problem?
Nope.
No?
Nope.
Nope. Okay, well, this has been Super Pulp Science, where we talk about how genre gets made. We're urging you to make a list, join the fight, and make comments.